Yo, what's going on YouTube? This is your boy Black Contraband, and I'm here with another video. So in today's video, what I want to talk about is how I discovered ADOS, how I got involved on this journey of trying to fight for reparations to ultimately close the racial wealth gap for Black Americans. I want to tell you guys a little bit about my background, where I come from, because I think all ADOS across America are unique. These people come from a unique background that's rich with American history. It might not be the best of histories, but it is definitely impactful and pivotal history in this country. So, just off of that standard alone, there's a lot of folks here who've been here for 8 to 10, 12 generations, maybe even longer than that. And, I feel that as citizens to this country, those people have a special standing, just like the Native Americans and other European Americans who started or founded this country. And so for that alone, I want to just go ahead and jump into things and tell you a little bit about me. To give you guys some background as to who I am, I'm from Chicago, so I'm a ADOS who's grown up in an urban environment. I'm also from the suburb because I'm an ADOS whose mom was a recipient of that Section 8 package, and so I got to see some of the perspectives of that side of life. I'm also one of those ADOS who've experienced that mass incarceration impact on life and living, and how those things play a pivotal role. So like how these crime bills formed by these politicians actually impacted your life or my life and things like that. That's something that I've experienced. Also one of the ADOS, folks who just, like I said, if you grew up in an urban environment, I know you're used to crime and things of that nature. So, I have experience with the gang perspective of our culture, and I have experience with, the educational side of our culture as well. I actually attended the HBCU on a full ride. Like I said, I'm from Chicago West Side, so I'm the first of my family to go to college and all of that stuff in my immediate family. Just have certain different success and outlooks on life because I was able to jump into corporate America and procure and secure multiple roles that kind of changed up my bag and my outcome in this country. And whereas at the same time I'm saying all of this, I got family who have way different backgrounds, and as a result of that, they kind of live different qualities of life. Now, to talk about why I joined ADOS. I joined ADOS because the movement and the message is clear. Black Americans, specifically American descendants of slavery, are owed reparations for suffering years of accrued disadvantage in a country that has promised us equality since day one. Because we have suffered that accrued disadvantage for so long, meaning like mass incarceration, slavery, convict leasing, redlining, all of the things that impacted our people, Jim Crow, segregation, being denied education for a number of period of years, being denied the right to read, the right to vote, all of these things that shaped our life and our outcome, all of that history, it's important. And as a result of that, we see our people are living a quality of life in America that just isn't the best. It's not even, close to not being, it's not even close to being good, because white people have set up a system where Black people are designed to be the bottom caste or designed to lose. And so ADOS really resonates with me because they're trying to secure justice for past injustices wreaked upon our people that had compounding effects over time. And as a result of this, we now see our people are, have some of the highest disparities in this country to shape who we are as a people. And that's not to say that we're not a strong people, that we aren't familiar with struggle, that we aren't resilient, because we are all of those things. I actually found out about this movement through my girlfriend. And, she's from Ohio, from Cleveland, and she has her own ADOS perspectives and things like that. I think we're all unique and we all got our different views. And, that's what makes us unique. But this group is special because they're the only group arguing for Black Americans to have specificity in their politics, as well as in their agenda, as well as in their culture. So we're saying African Americans, specifically American descendants of slavery, are a separate ethnic group than Jamaicans or Nigerians or all of these other groups of blacks who are here. And so, that's another thing that a lot of folks try to give ADOS backlash for. But that's something. That's a reason that's something that attracted me to the movement. Is just the fact that they, keeping it real, keeping it consistent, and being real specific in their wants and their goals or agendas that people are, turned off by that, and that's fine. Some people are going to always have a different opinion than you, and you have to be strong enough to know what opinion do you truly stand by? What do you believe is right? And what do you believe is wrong? And if you can, define those two things, you should be able to make a decision as to if you can join ADOS or if this is the best thing to propel or push black people forward. In my eyes, it is, because all of the other approaches have not worked. We have to be really true with ourselves here when we are fighting to elect certain officials. If they don't represent us, or if they don't push for policies that specifically give us an advantage because of all of these years of disadvantage, then they don't truly care about changing our condition. And that's something that a lot of black people just gotta drill home. That's something they gotta think about as they open their mouths to speak on our issues. So ADOS is definitely fighting for reparations, and that's something that definitely attracted me to the movement. So how did I find out about ADOS? I actually found out about ADOS from my girlfriend, who also went to the same HBCU as me. And what she was doing was, every time we live together, but as we get home from work, she always have this tone talk down, the YouTube channel playing, and I would always be doing my thing, something different, and I'll just be listening in on the channel, and I'm like, wow, these guys, he talking about some real shit on the YouTube, and she like, yeah, they calling for reparations. And so as I start, keeping an eye out, or keeping my ears open for whenever she would play his, videos, I started learning a little bit of stuff, a little bit more than what I already knew prior to jumping into this space. And as I was jumping in, this is at the time when Tone was just screaming, data matters. And once I got in tune with Tone, I got in tune with Yvette. And then once I got in tune with Yvette, I started doing my own research online, and I seen a whole bunch of critics, whole bunch of people just hating on ADOS and everything that this movement stands for. I mean, we had people calling this group divisive, a hate group, anti-immigrant group, just because we arguing for policies that are going to benefit our specific ethnic group. If that makes you divisive, then all of these other groups are also divisive. Nobody gets on the Mexicans or Puerto Ricans for demanding things specifically for Puerto Ricans or specifically for Mexicans. They only do that when black people try to get up from the bottom, because it's going to disrupt everybody's comfortability right now in this number one country, which is America, the greatest country in the world. Basically, people like, damn, well, we know y'all worked hard, we know y'all deserved a lot and owed a lot because of slavery and racism, but we really don't want to change that, because that's going to put one of us at the bottom, and we're not going to take a risk. So we just going to all still just say you guys are being divisive or unfair for trying to fix your conditions in the country that you have been a part of for generations, while some of us are just now getting here. Somebody had to make that make sense to me before they ever tell me not to support ADOS or the messages that this group stands for. And so if you guys were to do your research on ADOS, you will find a lot of articles are critical of our movement, calling us divisive. But here's the trick: if you look at those articles, I guarantee you 95% of the time that most of these articles are going to be written by black people who are descendant of immigrants, or they are immigrants themselves to America. And as a result of that, they already have their own bias against our movement. Of course, these people who are eating off of all of the opportunities that were meant to be afforded to black people would have problems with black people saying, well, we want more specificity that does not include these people, because by you guys including them, you ultimately disadvantaged us again, because now when you were supposed to repair all of this economic disadvantage from the 60s and 50s and 40s by not including blacks in the workplace, and when they created affirmative action and all of these good things, those programs are designed for ADOS to address the harms that America caused upon these people. But what they did was, they made it available to all people or all minorities. And that is not even to say that those people faced or suffered the same injustices our people suffered. When those things happen, or when we have to share all of our opportunities, it isn't something that's specific to fix our harm. It's something to help everyone, which isn't what reparations is. That's not good policy. So whenever they're giving something to the Latino group, or I would say, any Latino group, Mexicans or anything that are pro-immigration, the policies are lined up for them to win or advantage them or allow them to get better, whatever it is they see. That we want to have our own ethnic group that doesn't include these people, because right now America has this flat blackness theory when it's time to deal with any issues that they created for Black Americans, to the point where they start lumping in all people of color, even people who have wealth and economic equality, as minorities, in order for them to leech or take our opportunities. And like I said earlier, Pan-Africanism is it's an idea that we must uplift all Black people around the globe, and that is a great ideal to have. But at the same time, all people around the globe are not practicing Pan-Africanism. People around the globe are practicing politics that help grow their people as a people. And our people, Black Americans, the people who are the majority of Pan-Africanists here in this country and probably around the world, we need to get real specific in our goals, because having this Pan-Africanism mindset does nothing to change the conditions that those people from the diaspora aren't subject to here in America. Your siblings, your children, your family are subject to those conditions. And the only way you can change it is by having policies, being specific, and knowing what you want to do for your people, not for everyone, not for all of the people of color, not for all of the minorities, just for your people. If Black people could get that specific, we may be able to change things. But until we're able to get there, Pan-Africanism isn't going to be the answer for our group. Outside of that, these other groups would also say that we harbor ill will or have bad things to say, or negative opinions about immigration. And because unlike every other group that has been allowed to come to this country, we were the only group forced to come here. And when we built this country, we were promised and we were owed all of the rights that everyone else who comes here are afforded. But what we have seen is America freed us, it left us for dead, let white people run rampant and do all type of foul stuff to us after slavery. And then only once they started getting enough decency, they said, like 80 years ago or 70 years ago, they said, oh, we're going to give them civil rights, because it is wrong to tell someone they can't vote or treat them like they're not human or tell them they have to live this way because of their skin color and not based on the content of their character or things of that nature. And so once they gave us civil rights, right after 64, they ended up passing the immigration bill, which allowed America to flood its streets with other groups of people in order to diversify the country. And I would say that tactic was something that negatively impacted ADOS, because America didn't get a chance to fix or grant us the economic equality that also comes with giving us true equality. And as a result of that, they started pumping in these other groups and pushing their agendas and their policies over ours. And what happened was we remained stagnant. We still remained as the bottom caste for America. And our people, despite having just as many contributions to this country as white Americans or white people or any other group of people, or it may be even more, or having more influence, we've seen that time and time again, this country continues to ignore our needs and keep us as the bottom caste. So ADOS is fighting, and I'm talking deadly. Like if you get online and you type in hashtag ADOS, or you get online and you look up this group, you're going to see it's people who are very passionate about this group. They're very passionate about reparations. They're very passionate about the future of Black Americans. And as a result of that, they ain't taking no shit from anybody out here who's saying otherwise or calling our people all type of names, who's culturally appropriating our people, while at the same time keeping our people disadvantaged. We see a lot of groups, like maybe even a Black Lives Matter, that has been gentrified or has always been misguided from the start, use black struggle in our history to propel their group, when these groups are comprised of people who have no connection to that history. I mean, yes, some of the supporters are, of course, black or African American, but the founders are not. And as a result of that, what we see is that these people are pushing agendas and policies that aren't for black people. They're for everybody. They're for specific people like LGBTQ and all of this stuff. And it does nothing good for black people in the long run. All it does is it prolongs our current condition of remaining at the bottom. And so these groups, while I have supported, here's my thing with Black Lives Matter. Yes, Black Lives Matter in the sense that black lives are the only lives that are treated like they don't matter in this country, and you can see that in anything, and that's why we have these disparities that we have right now that revolve around our life. But Black Lives Matter as a movement, I will tell you that their focus and their agenda it doesn't go hand in hand with the message that Black Lives Matter, because their focus and their policies are on things that won't change our lives. Their sole focus should be reparations if they truly wanted to change the lives of black Americans. No, you can't be pro-immigration and pro all of these things, because those are things that will still harm black lives and cause situations where immigrant groups in Minnesota aren't subject to the same treatment as native black American groups who've been in America for generations. And that is because of that racism and that system that's been allowed to stay in place. But once we get to understand that, people will start waking up and stop supporting the wrong things. Another critic of ADOS are these supporters of other reparations movements. And it's quite funny here. There's two groups that are pushing for reparations as well outside of ADOS, and that's NARC and COBRA. The reason why I chose ADOS is because ADOS is the most specific group, and I believe that the people who support this movement are the ones who will actually push the needle and actually achieve reparations for black Americans here in America. I guess one pro of ADOS is that they have chapters, and what I mean by that is we don't have like real national chapters. We have chapters in each city comprised of real black ADOS people who are pushing for reparations. The only focus for us is reparations and achieving policies for black people on a local level and state level. On a federal level, we only want reparations and other policies that may advantage us to curb some of the disadvantages we have witnessed or experienced for the last few centuries in this land. And so the only reason why I don't support NARC and COBRA is because these two groups, they believe the reparations should go to all black people within America. And by all black people, they mean all people of African descent. And my only question for that would be, does that include Latinos as well? Because those people who start claiming that they have African descent, because there were some Africans who went there as well, and they're here now, and they sometimes identify as black just to get into our opportunities, kind of the same way that other black ethnic groups, take that same action. And so it's a nice trick to do. It helps them advance. It helps them, get opportunities that would otherwise be for black people. But at the same time, it isn't right and it isn't fair to black people, because those opportunities were designed for them because of some injustice that America inflicted. And so that's my issue with NARC and COBRA. My issue is that they are not specific. They actually want to ensure reparation goes to all black people, which I believe is a slap in the face to ADOS or specific black Americans who are descended from American slavery. Because if people didn't experience what you experienced, why are they entitled to compensation that's coming from those experiences or being a descendant of folks who went through that stuff? During the Holocaust for Jewish people, it's clear that they state that reparations are owed to the folks who actually went through the Holocaust. And the reason why they did that is because the justice claim is specific to the group who suffered the harm. It isn't for everybody who can identify as a Jewish person or of the white race living in this country just because the Jews went through the Holocaust. It doesn't work like that. Same way with the Japanese reparation program, it didn't go to all people of Asian descent because it was for a specific group of people who suffered that harm. So for black people, when we're talking about our reparations, it has to be specific. It has to go to the people who suffered the harm, not the people who share the same race as those people. Like, yeah, you might be called something like out your name, or you may experience racism here, but you chose to come here as an immigrant because of those opportunities that were created by this bottom caste. If America wasn't as great as it is because of all of ADOS's sacrifices, then these immigrant groups wouldn't come here. They would actually stay in their country and fight to make it better, which is the stance of ADOS in America. Like, we never left these shores after coming here, or, you know, from once the colonizers came here, we never left these shores, and we stayed here, built this country, and we have remained here for a long time. And a lot of these other groups, you know, they have native homelands and other places that they can still go back to and visit, and at the same time, you know, they support on a national level. But for us, whenever we get that specific, or when we say America's our home, it's no, America's everyone's home. And it's like, yes, it is, but at the same time, this is specifically our home, meaning we have suffered here, and at the same time, we have shown our resilience to the world, to the point where, yes, we do have a culture, but the world will allow anyone to abuse that culture, while at the same time telling us to respect the culture of those who practice Semitism. So you know how they have like anti-Semite and all of this stuff to protect these people, or even Native Americans. They need to give that to the American descendants of slavery, because we are just as unique as those group of people. We have a unique history that is revolves around oppression and suffering, and as a result of that, we need to make sure that our people are treated equally, because if they're not, it's just more continued discrimination from white people and other groups of people who just feel the need to step on our backs or on our necks to get where they need to get in life. Of course, they want their people to be considered, and they want to continue to be able to say, I am black just as you, and in reality, you don't share the same lineage as me, or the same accrued disadvantage. You have a country and a flag that you support and you rep that we don't support, and that just shows you how different we are. But at the same time, because you guys do look like us, it doesn't mean that you have the right to intrude upon our culture, intrude upon our history, and tell us what we need to believe and how we need to move. Because at the end of the day, we're not doing that for them. Like, I'm Black American, but I'm not ever going to some Jamaican person and saying, yeah, in Jamaica, you guys need to do this and do that, and this is what you guys just need to do, and stop worrying about your history with Britain and all these other countries, because this is what matters. No, we don't do that, because we stay in our own lane and we only focused on our people. We care about all black people, but at the end of the day, we're not trying to tell those black people what's best for them, unlike what you see with these people when they come here and try to tell us what's best for us without even having a connection to the history that we have. And that's a problem. So Joy Reid, you know, she called us bots, all of that stuff, which is not true. And I got, you know, receipts for days. We got real black people out here, not no far right Russian bots. And I say that her slander, just like as Yvette Carnell has stated on her show Breaking Brown, her slander is actually impactful, because she's reaching out to millions of people and adding some fake things on this group. The only reason why we didn't come for slander is because ADOS isn't a legal entity. We're just a movement, and until we become a legal entity, we can't come after any of these folks for the slander or libels that they have written about our group. But you know, Joy Reid, she's pushed the lie, and she still doesn't support this group, but she's herself into the ADOS conversation, and that's the conversation that revolves around that specific history I was talking about earlier in America, that only black people who were descendants of slaves suffered, you know, from America. And you know, other people don't have that, but yet they will still tell you, like, when our ancestors were slaves here. Like, no, that wasn't your ancestors. And so what you're doing is culturally appropriating our culture the same way that Jessica Krug or Rachel Dolezal would do. And that's just not cool, you know, because we're not doing that to them. And there's no reason we wouldn't have to do that to them. Other countries, they want to come here because there is a lot of opportunity, and there's a chance to have a different life than they would have in their country. You know, Talib Kweli, he definitely went on a smear and a run. So if you go check him out, he on Vlad TV talking crazy. You know, these guys are like, Yvette Carnell, she had a MAGA hat on. When you look at who the people that you follow, you need to understand why you're following them. That's like I always tell people, like, it all depends on why you're friends with people. Don't think like the same reason you're friends with somebody that you knew from your home city is the same reason you became cool with somebody you know from work. And so you gotta always understand that type of the relationship you have with people. And for me, my relationship with Tone and Yvette is that they just expose the broader truth to me. And these people are still real respectable people that I look up to. And for Yvette specifically, even if she wore a MAGA hat, the way they tried to spin it was just out of context for the reason why she wore it. And at the same time, I always tell people online, I'm like, so you trying to tell me because a motherfucker wore a hat that's why they some type of Republican Nazi body, even though they got a record of voting Dems, serving Democrats, and doing all of this other good stuff for Democrats. And then you just, you using that narrative or that image or that one thing to say that your narrative is true and it's not right. Because at the end of the day, if you look at all of the bad stuff they say and weigh it up with all of the good stuff that ADOS is saying about these two people, the good stuff vastly outweighs the bad stuff. And so we can go on and on this, but the way I found out about ADOS was through my girlfriend, and she pretty much, put me on game. But once I got on game, we actually started taking steps and actions and doing things outside of the norms to kind of, push and support this movement. And a part of those things is, like you'll see in later videos, is, I'm out here protest. Even in this video, you probably see, like, we've been at the protest. We've been pushing reparations. We done got flyers made. We done joined ADOS Detroit, being out here in Michigan. And, from there, we just, kind of always putting our best foot forward when it comes to this movement, because this is something that I believe in. This is something she believes in. This is something that other Black Americans around the globe in various professions also believe in. And the trick is, we really need to change the followers of BLM to get them to follow this movement, because this is the one that they really need to push for. Like in this video, you see people just standing around, they going on walks, they having dances and cha-cha slides to end police brutality. And the real thing they need to be pushing for is reparations. You'll never be able to end police brutality, but with reparations, you can put in policies that automatically punish cops for unjustly killing citizens and things of that nature. And at the same time, you could also be addressing these issues that cause Blacks to live in poverty, that also ended up allowing crime to prosper in these communities, and then that crime in turn allowing police departments to grow and allowing the cities to have this specific budget for policing of certain neighborhoods, which creates these disadvantages, which creates these situations where this cop is from this suburb and has little to next to zero interaction with Black people outside of telling them to get down on their knees, similar to his ancestors. And then, when things go awry and their fear or panic goes up, or their hatred, one of us end up dead unjustly for some stupid shit like, oh, yeah, the little kid had a play gun, or, he was jogging down the street, or, Freddie Gray, he said something to the wrong cop, or Eric Gardner, he was too big, so we had to choke him to get him down, or, Sandra Bland dying, mysteriously after telling them, yeah, I'm going to sue you guys. So all of these little weird things that happen to us is why we don't have this trust for law enforcement, but it's also, that those things are tied to a history of racism and all of the errors that our people have suffered. And because it's tied to that, we need to call for reparations for just that aspect that ties to many of the other aspects. And once we get this reparations or this real action in place, that's when Black people will start to see change. That's when white people will start to see change. But what we see with like all of these supporters of Black Lives Matter is that these people know that they're not pushing for things that will actually change Black conditions or cause these people to lose what they currently have. It's not going to upset the status quo. So they're saying defund the police and give all the money to all communities of color, because they know that that's not going to change Black people's conditions, and Black people will still be relying upon all of these other ethnic groups to purchase their groceries and do all of these things and go to their businesses to shop, because they're starved of opportunity, starved of wealth, and as a result of that, they can't rise and thrive like everyone else at a rate that everyone else does. And so once we get into this reparations bag and we get more of our followers from these groups who are already kind of misguided, it's a as a message, we identify with it, but as a movement, the agendas and the items on there is things that many black people have, refused profusely. For me, those are part of the reasons why I support ADOS. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I was, all over the place today, but as I get a little bit more into this bag of actually podcasting and being a podder, you guys will have a better experience with me. So make sure you hit that like button, make sure you subscribe, make sure you drop a comment. I mean, how did you guys get involved with ADOS? If you're interested in ADOS, send me something, in the comments, or send me a message, and we'll definitely chat about it. I can answer some questions. If you're one of my African brothers and sisters or ally of the movement, you got questions, or if you don't know if you want to be an ally yet, but you got questions you need to clear up before you can make that decision, drop a comment. Let's talk it out. Let's have it. At the end of the day, we're going to do a comparison and contrast to those ideas, and that's what debate is all about. So, make sure you guys drop a comment, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share this if you like the video, and stay tuned, because more videos on the way.